what you're doing, if you're a teeth whitening provider, you need to hear this. I myself have fallen into this category for many, many years. And it's a great example of when life gets busy and you're trying to do all these different things as a provider or a business owner, and you just listen to supply companies, you just listen to manufacturers, and sometimes you turn off common sense in your brain. I have seen this time and time again in the dental industry. Sales reps walk in, they just pitch you something, and you just don't even second guess it. You're just like, oh yeah, that makes sense, and you use it. When really, at the end of the day, some of the products or systems that you're doing, you're like, wait, why am I doing that? And this is a great example. If you offer teeth whitening, I bet you tell your clients and your patients that they cannot consume staining foods and drinks for up to 24 to 48 hours after, depending on what your educator, your supply company, or manufacturer has told you. This video is here to prove that you are wrong. Guess what? Your patients are going to be so happy because they're going to be able to get a bright, beautiful smile from you, and then they're going to be able to go have their coffee, tea, whatever it is, right away. Let's dive into how, why, and how we got here. Hey, I'm Rach, Canadian dental assistant turned teeth whitening educator, founder, and industry leader. Over the past several years, I've helped whitening professionals across North America improve their client results, grow their businesses, and modernize their whitening systems. Whether you're a solo whitening artist or a multi-location dental practice, you're in the right place. Welcome to MentorRach, the teeth whitening industry expert. I'm Rach, and I own Canada's largest teeth whitening studio. I am on my third location, and it's been a wild ride. I started teeth whitening back in 2019. I am a dental assistant, so I graduated dental assisting school back in 2014, and I've been in all fields of dentistry. And now I not only run B2C, so teeth whitening studios, but I also run North America's largest teeth whitening supply company. So I own a few different companies in the teeth whitening industry. I know a thing or two about teeth whitening. I'm here to show you that even though you think you know everything and that you feel confident in an industry or your procedures, you're not always right. And sometimes you have to listen to studies, think outside the box, listen to creators or articles that you don't necessarily agree with, but you need to peel back and see what they're talking about. I'm here to say that I have been wrong. I have been training and teaching clinics throughout North America and Australia, something that they have not needed to be doing. Here I am telling you, if you had taken any training from me from 2021 up to 2025, that there's a section in the training that's wrong. When I tell you that for 24 to 48 hours, your client has to avoid staining foods and drinks. Because if they were to consume something in that period, that the enamel rods are still open and that the tooth is quite porous and that you're going to absorb and fall back off of anything that you consume in that time period. Pretty much rule of thumb was anything that would stain a white t-shirt. So think coffees, teas, red wines, all of our favorite things. We were avoiding those things. Guys, I have thousands of teeth whitening sessions under my belt, and the amount of times that I would tell my clients this and they'd be like, oh, I can't have my coffee in the morning, or oh my gosh, really need a smoke or a vape. And I'd be like, sorry, like you're gonna lose your results. This is false. You might call it the white diet. Maybe you even sell something like a post sealer or a post closer that's literally there to like put it like a varnish on top of the tooth, so again, nothing absorbs through. We have all been lied to. Myself included, I've lied to you. How did we get here? Pretty much over the last 6 months, every year I revamp our training courses because new things come up. We want to do new videos. When I was laying out the new layout for the new training that we're filming in the next couple months, I wanted to go like piece by piece, make sure that there wasn't anything that we needed to add or update, I guess you could say. I got to the section for post-care instructions, and I was just thinking about it because like I would say that's the biggest thing that a lot of clients are like, well, this sucks. Why do we need to avoid these staining foods and drinks? Like, what's the science here? And if you know me, I'm a sucker for finding clinical studies, textbooks, all the things. And even though I love this one, teeth whitening textbook, there's nothing about like staining foods and drinks really in it. I was doing some deep diving. So I found this one podcast a few months back. It was this dentist and he was chatting with this other dentist and they're talking about whitening. The dentist asked him and said, like, I've seen you talk about that teeth whitening is great and that you don't need to avoid staining foods and drinks. That's BS. And he explained it as, yeah, like that's a joke. Think about it. Why do you need to do that? I was like, huh. That's really interesting because you're right. Why? This one dentist who has a podcast, his stuff pops up on my feeds quite a bit. It's funny is I filmed an episode with this dentist. He's in the UK. He never aired it, but I have a feeling it was because the UK peroxide limits and the North American peroxide limits are very different. Our whitening scopes are very different. There's so many different outliers between the UK and North America when it comes to teeth whitening. His show still follows up on my feeds quite a bit. So I had seen that he had founder, another dentist, that is really well known in the overseas community for a teeth whitening line. He created this teeth whitening line and he also has a PhD, like specifically in the scope of different sciences that would all relate back to the idea of oxidization, chromophore theory, things like that, all about teeth whitening. So a great reference. So I listened to the episode and we'll link it here, but nearing the end, the dentist gets asked, like, what about the white diet? What about avoiding staining foods and drinks?
Is it true that patients should try a white diet when having treatment?
I heard of that when I was started bleaching 30 years ago. After I done my PhD, it's not necessary. I'm a coffee drinker. I'm a red wine drinker. Look at my teeth. Look at my teeth. They're beautifully white, all and three. You don't have to.
Dr. Chan has a great response. He says, look at my teeth right now. I consume everything. Think of all of our staining foods and drinks that we consume day in and day out, and I still have a bright smile. And even if I go and consume something right after whitening, I still have that bright smile. And why is that? And it makes sense. If you think about the science of teeth whitening, the majority of our stain is intrinsic. We're going after that endogenous intrinsic staining, which is in our dentin layer. If we're oxidizing in our peroxide-based gels, if we're talking North America, there's peroxide-based, then we're oxidizing out those stain molecules with the reactive oxygen species of choice, if that's an HP or a CP peroxide, and we're releasing those stain molecules, and that's in the dentin tubules, right? Not the enamel. If we're consuming something right after chairside whitening, why should that matter? It's not like we're going to absorb it any faster. That's it. Okay, it takes that pellicle layer on the enamel to reform in about 5 to 10 minutes. If you think about it, by the time you remove your gel, have the patient do a rinse if you are doing any post-closing, or so like a color corrector, or you could say like a soother to a sense, like if you're doing really high peroxides, maybe you're putting on straight potassium nitrate or something. But doesn't that just prove that, well, why do we have to avoid those staining foods and drinks? That is huge. So I wanted to put this to the test. I'm also going to link another article of another study that was done in 2019 with test subjects that they did have them consume like red wines, coffees, teas, things like that. And same thing, their whitening results did not vary to the ones that did not do that. I wanted to see in person if this is a real thing. So literally just last week, I'm filming this in May, so it would have been the end of April 2026. I had different staff members come down and we did team training. And part of our team training was to get new sales reps to try the system hands-on, and then to kind of treat our staff members and give them free teeth whitening. We did our regular sessions. We kind of played around with it. Some of our providers place on a stronger straight hydrogen and some providers place on our hybrid blend. Both were then oxidized out with the ultrasound technology advanced whitening system, the Beyond 2 Ultra, and then we're using Firm Whitening Supplies gels. We did use Beyond's gels for one of them. Then we did our regular contact times of 2 12 minutes or 2 10 minutes. We've got shade jumps from 6/8 going down to 2s, -1s. I also work off of the negative R27 guide, so my shade types are going to be a little different if you're going off of an R20. Regardless, great absorption. And of course, our theory and statistically showing that if you're not over dehydrating, so you're not using heat-based lamps, you're not using really high peroxides for long periods, you're not pushing dehydration, you're literally just oxidizing, then you should have even better results, if not held results in 24 hours. So either you're holding or you have better results in 24. So we wanted to test that just to kind of prove to you that yes, if you are doing teeth whitening safe and effectively, you should not have rebound. A lot of textbooks show you chairside whitening with straight hydrogens have rebound and false whites. We were proving that with different types of systems, you don't have that. But we also wanted to take one step farther and show that if you had staining foods and drinks, that you are still okay. So we had 3 of our staff members do this. We did whitening, then in the afternoon, they just had their regular things. So we have a staff member who is vaping. We have a staff member who had like a pink protein shake. We had a staff member who had another coffee. Then we all went out for dinner. At dinner, we had things like beet salads, red wine, the list goes on. So many staining foods and drinks were consumed this whole time over this 24-hour period. The next day we come back in, we waited till about that full range of when they have gone. So it was in the afternoon. And again, in that morning, they had coffees, teas, smoothies, and then we got to the point to do the shade match. If they did not hold like legitimately the exact same, they did almost go a little bit lighter in a couple situations. So no one had fallback. Now, what's really interesting is that when I had chatted briefly, I would say around last year with like different audiences in the MentorRach channel, a lot of the providers were like, no, I had a patient once in my dental clinic who ate cherries right after and it reverted back, or had red tomato sauce and it reverted right back. And the more I think about it, I think it really comes down to the difference between extrinsic and intrinsic staining. Makes sense. Think back to what Dr. Chan said.
When we bleach the tooth, make it white, it's the color of the dentine that reflects through a translucent enamel that we're seeing the color of the tooth. And dentine is usually darker yellow in color. So to make the tooth white, you have to bleach the dentine white. Once you bleach the dentine white, doesn't matter whatever you drink and eat. No, it doesn't matter what you drink and eat.
If we're oxidizing out the stain in the dentin level, then instant food isn't going to change that level. And that's where we get our perceived brightness through. But if you're getting a cherry or a red tomato sauce that you're noticing for whatever reason is holding extrinsically, then I think there's a couple of different things that are happening here, okay? First thing, I would say that you probably have done a really false type of whitening. You're probably using a heat-based lamp and you're probably doing 4 15 to 20 minute contact rounds with really high percentages and really high heat. That's giving you a lot of false dehydration. If your tooth is really dehydrated, you're most likely just picking up stain on that extrinsic level. You could probably just do a prophy and get it off, or use like a finger brush, just some sort of abrasive. You don't need to do more bleaching, you probably just need to do whitening. Whitening is just removing extrinsic stains with abrasive agents, as bleaching is actually intrinsically absorbing the peroxide-based agents. I really think that's the difference here, is if for whatever reason you're doing false types of whitening, you're giving false whites, then you probably do have a little bit more of a dehydrated tooth that's grabbing on the extrinsic level. But intrinsically, that stain should not be absorbing. Then you would just do a polish. And I would urge you that if you don't agree with this, then to try it on yourself. Whiten your own teeth, and then consume staining foods and drinks for 24 hours and see what you get. If you were to have fade back, or you were to, again, pick up like something extrinsically, I would just try removing it first off with a whitening agent, so an abrasive. But then second off, if you have rebound, my question to you would be, what type of system are you using? Because yes, statistically, there are so many clinical trial studies that show that in-chair whitening, and this is why in-chair whitening has a really bad rep, is falsified because of heat-based lamps and really high peroxides that are just giving a dehydrated look. If you're having rebound, It's not from science. It's not from staining foods and drinks. It's because you're using an improper whitening system. So is the white diet BS? Yes, absolutely. And I, again, am sorry to everyone that I told you to avoid staining foods and drinks for 24 hours to 48 hours. I was just believing manufacturers and suppliers and honestly the community. And this is a great example in an unregulated industry. You really have to do your own research. Again, we're gonna link in the studies and chats that I'm talking about, but if you don't believe me, then just try it on yourself. Okay, if you're watching this, you offer teeth whitening, I'm assuming, and you have access to everything to try. Don't shoot the messenger, try it out yourself, and then let me know. I'm gonna do it again for myself. We didn't have time to whiten my teeth, but we have more staff members onboarding all the time. So I am in queue at some point to get my teeth whitened, and I'm gonna record me consuming foods and drinks, doing a shade match off of me too. So at the end of the day, the white diet, avoiding staining foods and drinks for 24 to 48 hours, you do not need to be telling your patients to do so. They're gonna be so happy. Throw out any product that you've been upcharging or overselling to close off those enamel pores, because guys, you don't need to do it. Whiten someone's smile, make their day, and then let them know that they can go and grab a coffee after. Let me know your comments below, and I'm excited to start spreading the word that we don't have to do something that we've been doing this whole time.